Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the No Show. I'm Jim McPhee, and right there in the studio is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back once again to Football on the No Show. Make sure you wipe your feet before you enter. We do appreciate that. We like to keep a clean floor around here. If you're new to the show, or if this is your first time, or if you just like being polite and want to head over to YouTube for us and hit that subscribe button, definitely goes a long way, definitely helps out. And while you're there, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend about us. Spread the word, and let's get to it, Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Yep. So yeah, some news happened just this morning here after James Cook had ended his hold-in. People had asked Sean McDermott, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, just things have changed or whatever." So here we go. We've got the
contract
number now. So here we go. The contract's got it in. James Cook is finally now got that straightened out. And you know what's funny too is you see good organizations kind of do things like this, right? Brandon Beane and company here in Buffalo, that he was going to get paid, and it wasn't going to be crazy though either too. I mean, it's a friendly type of deal here. He's a good running back here, was big part of their success. It wasn't a whole lot of drama. People were looking at it as like, oh man, he might be one of those holdouts or whatever, and this and that. But he was there the whole time, just getting done with business. It's done and it's all taken care of. Unlike what's going down with the Dallas Cowboys here and the mess that is the Dallas Cowboys. But James Cook, do you think 12 million is good for him? And it's sixth highest paid running back right now. So
yeah, I mean,
I
think about it. He's young.
That's a nice number.
Still in his prime. This is kind of like one of those deals that it was bound to happen. We knew that was going to happen. And although a lot of people around it, they always seem to jump to conclusions about these so-called holdouts or hold-ins and say, oh man, where do you think they're going to go next? Are they going to get traded now because now they're holding out or holding in? And they always think the extreme. But when you have a player of the stature of James Cook, who is your featured back, is your starting running back, those guys don't get traded away. Good players do not get moved on from unless something catastrophic happens. So Buffalo Bills get the deal done. James Cook staying. Everybody can relax and come back down to earth.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. So the next couple of weeks we'll be talking about way too early predictions. Last week we did the AFC and NFC East. This week we are going to focus on the North here. So very interesting two divisions here, and where a lot of people expect multiple playoff teams in these divisions here, 2 to possibly 3 a piece in each one. So let's get started here right off the bat with the AFC North. Joe, take it away here. Let's look at the Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens. This is one of those teams that are always seen as like a favorite to win the division. Even though this division is super tough, super competitive every single year, the Ravens continue to bring it. Obviously, everybody knows Lamar Jackson leading that offense, and Derrick Henry helps. Just a little bit. He helps a little bit on the offensive side. So they are very tough to deal with every single week. Very physical team, and their defense seems to continually get better and younger. So this is a team that does a great job of adding talent, whether it be free agency or the draft, and that's what keeps the wheels going. So Ravens still going to be super solid, and they're going to be yet again one of those competitive teams that are going to be vying for the first rank in their division.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. Again, they're they're the team to beat. You know what I mean? You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And in this division right now, it's been the Baltimore Ravens, and they've been dominating because, again, you've got Lamar Jackson, that offense, Derrick Henry. When you added him into the fold, it just opened up a whole nother world here for them, and it helped Lamar here on top of it to where he can elevate his game, and that defense too on top of it. They're the cream of the crop. You know, they've got a long way to go with some of these other teams here. You know, you hope that the Bengals can get off to a good start here and you know, get the defense situated here, but to make it competitive here, because they, you know, they had an opportunity to be a playoff team last year, but just came up short. I want to give a shout out to Rise Up Dirty Birds is with in the house with us tonight.
Going on? Yep.
Rise Up Dirty Birds, over under 7.5 wins for the Falcons? Question mark.
I'm going to go over. I think the Falcons with Michael Penix taking over the quarterback duties. This is a team that has a refreshed vision on the offense with Zach Robinson, and they're going to be really creative. And I feel like this could be the breakout season, if you will, for Kyle Pitts. Michael Penix seems to be getting a lot of chemistry with Kyle Pitts. I understand it's training camp and all that, but you at least see the connection, you know. So I think that's going to broaden as we get into week one, and the Falcons are going to be one of those kind of dark horse teams, if you will, in their division. And let's see what they can do. But I think they'll get over 7.5 wins.
Mm-hmm. I think 7.5 is a sweet number here because I think 8 is where they get to this season. So I think that's about where they're going to be, and that'll be over 7.5. So we're good there. I think that's a good number right there for that one. All right, so let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals then, Joe. The Cincinnati Bengals, I brought them up real quick again. They can score a lot of points. You know, we got Joe Burrow and we've got, you know, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. We hear about them all the time. You know, Mike Gesicki's back. Everybody's locked in on offense. The offense is going to be roaring, scoring 38 some odd points a game. But that defense has been the question here. So that's going to be dictating everything. And as we know, they do have a slow start. They starting to put, you know, starters in the preseason to hope kind of alleviate that situation here. You know, with Zach Taylor. So who knows what can happen with these guys? But again, the sky's the limit. If they can get that defense going, this is a very dangerous team in this division.
Well, the other question mark that they have always had is their offensive line seems to not be as solid. But
Mm-hmm.
they went out this offseason. They drafted Dylan Fairchild, who is one of my favorite guards coming out in the draft. And I think this guy is going to be an awesome player for them, going to hold it up there. They also bring in Ted Karras, a veteran, former Patriot. He
Mm-hmm.
comes over to hold it down as well at the center position. And then you have Lucas Patrick coming from the Saints to play right guard starter. And you know, you're hoping that in the sophomore season of Amarius Mims, the mountain of a man that he is in Cincinnati, you're hoping that he takes another step forward in his development. So they've done numerous things to shore up that offensive line at this offseason. And really it does in fact put every bit of pressure on the defense to perform. This is a defense that has struggled in the middle at D tackle specifically, and now you have guys that are capable of pass rushing. You know, obviously, we're still waiting for that Trey Hendrickson deal to kind of be completed and agreed to. Um, we'll see. You know, I expect it to get done, but you know, now they have Shamar Stewart also in there. They got him
Mm-hmm.
finally signed, so
Mm-hmm.
he's in training camp. He's practicing. And a little funny note is that, you know, just recently, I think it would happen today. Shamar Stewart was rushing Joe Burrow, and after Burrow got rid of the football, he kind of gave Burrow a little bump. You know, you're not supposed to touch the quarterback in practice, but he gave him a
Mm-hmm.
little bump, and it started a whole big fight in Cincinnati.
Like,
So,
whoa, hey, what
um,
are you doing, Ruck?
listen, rookie, settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the intensity's there. Like, obviously, you can see from practice and everything that they're trying to get after it. They're trying to get better on defense, and let's just hope that they can gel further this offseason, and maybe they might surprise some people when we get into the regular season.
Yep, definitely, Joe. All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns again trying to do a rebuild here. They've had multiple quarterbacks on that team. They bring in Tyler Huntley too because of the injuries. We know what happened with Shador Sanders here over the weekend. Playing well, but now again he's got an injury. So out of all the quarterbacks they have now, they have a wicked injured quarterback room to where, to start this next game, who knows, they might bring somebody else in too, just to fill the roster out, at least at one point here. But big question marks on that too. Like, who's going to stay healthy? We know Joe Flacco is going to be the starter here. He's the veteran there. You got to go with him, especially if you want to win.
Yeah.
Which I know Kevin Stefanski locked in a longer term deal and extension, but for him, I feel like he really still needs to win and needs to show some more here and do something. If you're supposed to be this quarterback guru too, and you got to be able to show that you can bring in these guys and develop them and make something happen with them. I think the Baker Mayfield thing was kind of a failed experiment, even though it wasn't his guy, right off the bat, but still you had him in the room and now he's performing well somewhere else. So I feel like this team needs to do something here. And but again, the defense is going to be good, but it all depends on that quarterback situation.
Yeah, so for Kevin Stefanski, he's had success grooming quarterbacks before he got this head coaching gig. So, I mean, that's kind of like part of the reason why he got the Cleveland job is the fact that he could groom quarterbacks. And I still think he's a good coach. I still think he knows what he's doing, obviously. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be there. So I don't have too many concerns for Stefanski, but it's the players that they're getting to work with. And honestly, like Joe Flacco's a nice staple veteran that they're going to have, and he's going to absolutely start. But with all the injuries that are mounting up in the quarterback room, it's going to be really hard to gauge the talent level, to gauge, just how well they're developing and can they handle the NFL level, especially for the rookies. Uh, I heard recently that they've already announced the starter this week is going to be Dylan Gabriel. He's
Mhm.
going to start the game and everything, and obviously with Shador being hurt, he's probably not playing at all. So they're going to get a good look now, a really good look at Dylan Gabriel, and if he performs well, and then people are going to be like, "Well, this is the reason why Shador didn't move up the depth chart because Dylan Gabriel played well," and then they have Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco and so forth. So
Mhm.
lot of evaluating left to do for sure. It's still too early to kind of give a clear cut winner in terms of the backup race. We do expect Flacco to be the starter, but I'll tell you, for a team like Cleveland, they've always had the capability to compete and to win games. The overall roster has been solid for the last few years, but there's still some question marks, and it's mostly on the offensive side, not the defense. The defense continues to
Mhm.
gain talent and kind of rotate out the older vets while they bring in some youth. But on the offensive side, we've questioned this before about the wide receivers and the lack
Mhm.
thereof. And
Mhm.
you have Jerry Judy and the rest. Well, who's going to be the
Yeah.
next guy to step up? And I'll tell you, I think the next man to step up, and he showed it late last season, is Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman, a young wide receiver who kind of blew up on the scene late last season and kind of took over, especially when Jerry Judy got injured and banged up last year as well. So keep your eyes on Cedric Tillman to kind of earn and win that second wide receiver job on the outside opposite Jerry Judy, and I think that they can put together a nice, nice little game plan. And Joe Flacco is obviously going to, feed it to one of his favorite targets, and that's David Njoku. We saw that last year. So I think as long as, like you mentioned, Jim, the health of the quarterbacks can, they can still kind of hang on to the, keep those guys healthy
Mhm.
for the foregoing weeks on end. I think they're gonna be okay, but again, they're in one of the most competitive divisions, and it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Because again, the Bengals again coming back. hopefully again they can get the defense going here. Baltimore strong, Cleveland. It's a tough division to be in to try and to climb your way to the top here. And now it's Steelers. They feel like they've got a viable team, bringing in a bunch of veterans. Aaron Rodgers for one at the quarterback position. Robert Woods is their wide receiver too. Again, I'm like, are you still playing? I'm like, damn,
That's
dude.
terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
terrible.
yeah, and that's what's scary with this team though too, is because you talk about lack of wide receivers here. I mean, I like Calvin Austin, and DK Metcalf was a nice guy to bring in here. They're good with Freiermuth, the tight end situation. I feel like that's where Aaron Rodgers could go. How he loves the tight ends, and now he's got him and Jonnu Smith. So I feel like those two guys are going to get very involved in this offense. And then it's just going to be DK. You know what I mean? You're very rarely, I think, going to see some of these other guys spell in and out. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers, how he's got big trust issues. I don't think I see it going anywhere else. But
Well, I mean, I feel like the Jonnu Smith thing is intriguing because there's familiarity with the offensive coordinator with Arthur Smith, and that's why
mhm,
they really brought him in is
mhm,
because he knows the offense that he's going to like to run. Obviously, he was a big part of that uh, with when they were teamed up before. But Pratt Fryermuth, make no doubt about it, is the number one tight end, is going to
mhm.
be the big threat. But I like the depth now that they brought in Jonnu Smith for sure.
Yeah, and I wonder what that
Wide
does
receiver.
for Darnell Washington's development, because I thought he was playing really good last year too. I mean, he was a nice tight end too. But then you
He
bring in
was,
Johnu,
but
you know what I mean?
he was also in and out of the lineup, banged up. That's thus the reason why they brought in another tight end that was capable of running their system. But going back to the wide receivers, Robert Woods, I do not expect to hold on to that starting job. He's penciled in right now, but you have the likes of Roman Wilson in his second year, who is a very shifty, quick wide receiver that I think would do very, very well given the opportunity. Calvin Austin has kind of been the farm team of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the guy that's kind of like come out of nowhere in terms of development and has done extremely well for them when given the opportunity. But you got other guys like Ben Skowronek, who really hasn't had a starting opportunity, but Ben Skowronek, he's also getting the job done whenever he's called upon. Think about when he was with the Rams and how whenever they brought him onto the football field, it seemed for that he was always catching first downs or making big plays in the end zone. So they can play with some of these wide receiver, um, you know, different variations of who they want out there in terms of size or speed or whatnot. So I think they got a lot of variety there. It's going to be intriguing to see as we get to week one just who earns those starting spots. And I don't think it's kind of like finalized just yet. But good thing for Rodgers because he's going to a better offensive line in front of him in Pittsburgh. So that's going to help him. And obviously, you got the rookie Caleb Johnson, the running back that they drafted, who they're going to rely on heavily. I feel like I don't think it's going to necessarily be Jalen Warren full time, but I think that there's going to be majority carries are going to be given to Caleb because he fits that type of power back that they like to run with. And obviously, everybody knows the defense is always like a steel curtain for Pittsburgh. They do a very good job with adding talent there as well. They got some veterans now in the secondary, so it should help them as they go down the stretch in the season.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So, all right, so let's get down. It's picks time. Let's go to your picks here first for the division. Let's see what you got. And that's not it. What the hell? All right. Well, anyways, so who do you got here to take the division here, Joe?
So, I mean, as the favorite goes, I got the Ravens taking the division in a very, very close divisional race. Baltimore, I mean, until they get, toppled over by one of these other teams, it's hard to pick against them. Ravens come in as a super solid roster, and it seems like with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry running the offensive show, and then the plethora of defensive talent on the defensive end for Baltimore, they are going to be the strongest and toughest team to deal with in the AFC North. I got them at number one.
All right. Next up.
I have the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals with Joe Burrow. I understand there's concerns on the defensive end, but also last year, looking back, like you had a numerous amount of injuries in the secondary. with the linebackers, with even the D tackles that were missing. So and the fact that now they have another pass rusher in Shamar Stewart to help on opposite end. When week one gets here, I fully expect him to start and to help Trey Hendrickson when that deal gets done. So I got the Bengals finishing number 2. And then, yes, I have a surprise. It is none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing 3rd. The reason why I have them 3rd and the Cleveland Browns being last is basically it's leadership on the roster with the vets that the Steelers have versus Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. We expect Flacco to start, but I gotta tell you, if one of these young guys end up winning this job over Flacco in the very end, it's a little shaky for me. I'm not really sure how much I believe in the Browns this year because they really don't have a future just yet. I like Flacco and everything, but let's just say Flacco gets hurt too because he is much older. He's 40 plus years old and you're more susceptible to injury. And if the Browns offensive line can't hold up their end, then Flacco, if he leaves it for any significant amount of time, then I feel like they're going to leave it in the hands of a very unpredictable type of quarterback. And quarterbacks like Pickett and the rookies that they have there with Shador and Dylan, that you just don't know how it's going to, which way it's going to go. So because of the shakiness, because of the uncertainty there, and the fact that they still have holes to fill, just like any one of these other teams, I like Pittsburgh kind of edging them out. I like the how solid of a roster they have defensively. I like the offense as long as Rodgers as well can stay healthy too. That's going to be critical. So I got Pittsburgh with the new weapons that they have. I got them ahead of Cleveland. I got Cleveland finishing last in the division, but all in all, I think it's going to be a very, very close divisional race all the way to the end. I don't think there's going to be any big leads from anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's gonna be kind of tough, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the quarterback situation. And how these guys are going to develop, and really what you're going to see out of Joe Flacco again. Because if you do remember, I mean, he was basically on his way to retirement, and they called him in out of the bullpen, to make a run, and they made it to the playoffs. That was the last time, they performed well here. They have still a good defense on top of it, so
Right.
you see the potential that they could do, even though they are kind of weak at the wide receiver situation here. So and Aaron Rodgers, like you said, what are we going to get here? You know what you have in Aaron Rodgers, because again, he's a future Hall of Famer, but you brought it up before, at times in training camp, you see that he's the age is catching up. He's slow. He's not moving around as much, and that was partially what made him so good too. They had a elusiveness, in to get in and out of the pocket too as well. And you hear the way he talks about camp right now too, is like, here's a bunch of things we need to fix. We need to do that. Blah 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 blah. And it
Mhm.
sounds really reminiscent of what happened when he used to speak about the team when he was with the Jets. So I'm interested to see what really happens with the Steelers, but you can't ever count them out, because I've tried to for the last couple of years, said they weren't going to do well, and here they are, still not going to be the bottom of the division. I've got it the same way as you've got it here, Joe. I've got Baltimore taking it right now. Again, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, I don't see
Mhm.
these guys doing it yet. I think the Bengals, a really strong offense. That defense got to get going, but I think they have enough firepower to make the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens then. And I've got the Steelers again. I think they're obviously just going to play better than the Browns. And the Browns, they are what they are. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like we want to hear from you guys out there as well. All our know-it-alls that are watching right now, if you want to become a new know-it-all, head over to YouTube for us. Hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up as well. Goes a long way with letting other people, maybe get a little bite on our show and get to see what we do here. So appreciate it. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And also, we want to hear from you guys down in the comment section down below. We are live, so we will respond to any comments, any questions, anything that you might have for us. Want to hear from you guys too. In the AFC North, who do you have going down? NFC North, we're about to cover it right now. List it down below in the comments.
Absolutely, Joe. So, all right, so let's get to the NFC North here, Joe. Let's cover the Bears first. How about that? They're intriguing.
The Bears, the Bears, the Bears. Oh my God. There's a lot of issues with the Bears. And it all starts with the name Caleb Williams. This is a player that last year coming out of the draft, I didn't have him rated very high. Honestly, on contrast to everybody else out there that was, evaluating talent for the quarterbacks, and a lot of people had him number 1 overall. I didn't. I had him basically like 4 or 5. And this is the reason why. Is I thought this guy was coddled in college. He ran a one read offense with USC Trojans, and he wasn't asked to do a lot in terms of playing that leadership role at quarterback. So you look at those things and basically just kind of like was very good at getting out of harm's way in college, was very good at making something happen, similar to what Patrick Mahomes does in Kansas City, right? And that's where the comparison started to happen. However, his rookie year was dismal. It was terrible. He made some really bad decisions, turned the ball over. Yes, he had some nice flashes of highlights here and there, but now you have Ben Johnson taking over the head coaching duties here, a guy who is seen as a offensive guru, formerly of the Detroit Lions, coming in to right the ship with Caleb Williams and this offense. Can he get it done? Well, I'll tell you, from the jump of this offseason, they've done a tremendous amount of changes up front with the offensive line, bringing in veteran free agents, bringing in a high end tight end in Colston Loveland from Michigan. They've done a lot of work up front to help protect Caleb Williams, to prevent that rush that was getting to him and getting him all flustered. But here's the other side of the coin, is that Caleb Williams now has to actually run a real offense. There's no more coddling, there's no more, don't worry, we're going to do it this way and this is going to be your first read and keep it real simple. Ben Johnson has a very structured and complex offensive system that he wants it run well and efficiently. And that's why it works so good with Jared Goff in Detroit. Well, Caleb Williams, now you have to step up. There's no more hiding in the NFL for him. So Ben Johnson has been heard from in camp, basically saying that he's disappointed in the development of Caleb, and he needs to see better from him. Up until this past week, now we're starting to get some coach speak from Ben, basically saying, "Well, he's improving. I like what I'm seeing, the direction he's going." Guess what? This week he gets his first start in preseason. We're going to see a very basic defense going against. You're not going to see Ben Johnson's offense just yet, but we might see a better Caleb Williams. So we'll have to wait and see there. Defensively, we know that Chicago is super solid. They were banged up last year. They're coming back. They're getting all their guys healthy again, and they are going to be yet again a top 10 defense this year, obviously with health.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too, it's like you saw what they possibly could be a little bit last year, and then again, then it was like a totally different team the next week. You know what I mean? So it was up and down, and it all dictated to how he played. And you bring up all the tangibles that he has. Like you said, like visually, you can look at it and like it's really reminiscent of Mahomes, or without a lot of the other talent that that Mahomes actually has, and but you could see either it would be good and he can work into it, or it could be a lot of bad habits and then be disastrous. And we saw a little of both last year. So like you said, Ben Johnson's got a lot of work to do here to try and straighten this out and reel this guy in, because again, you think about all the things that were going down, during his college years and this and that and all that things, and trying to black out all that and kind of get down to brass tacks and, hey, you're the first one in, the room, in the building, and the last one out, study all this. And I remember even from the quarterback show that Jared Goff, even, a veteran, it was like, wow, I got to learn all these and you memorize all this. And there was like 45 or something, so many different motions or something too. And like all the different things. And he's going over it. And, it's crazy and overwhelming it sometimes. But one
That's what
thing
pro quarterbacks do, right? Like
right,
the
exactly.
the real quarterbacks can process that information, get it together, and then they understand it. Where that's
Right.
where part of the problem is for Caleb is that he's struggling even learning this new playbook and executing it on the football field. And
Mhm.
Chicago's defense is eating him alive in practice.
Right.
I know it's just practice, but some missed throws, some poor throws, like judging to throw it into double coverage can't happen, and that's why Ben
Yeah.
Johnson was losing his mind.
Yeah. And you can't blame offensive line for a lot of the things that were going down. I mean, 68 sacks is a lot, but it wasn't all offensive line. It was him running out of the
Holding
pocket and
holding
holding on
on
to
to the
the
football.
ball. Yeah, exactly.
That's where
Um,
most of his pressures
mhm,
came from, is him
mhm.
holding on to the football, not recognizing who was open fast enough, and then in turn, when the pressure comes, now he's running all over the place trying to make something happen like back in college. You cannot do that at this level. You have to be able to process, go through your reads, find the open man, and get rid of the ball in 3 seconds. You don't have that much time.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so, I mean, it'll be interesting because again, I think they have, a good amount of firepower that they can
Oh,
contend.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
this division could be very interesting just because again, with the
Right.
Lions now losing, both their coordinators here, they still got Dan Campbell and stuff, and we get that and stuff, but moving forward after that, do we see a downtick? Green Bay, they kind of, edged their way into the playoffs and stuff, but kind of, excuse me, they're like one and dones. And then Minnesota again, how well will JJ McCarthy play too? So I can see the Bears potentially with the firepower that they have on defense and offense. They're one of these teams that realistically can kind of go worst to first in the division at least. But it's all predicated on quarterback play. So let's move
Right.
on to the Detroit Lions here, Joe. Like we said, losing the coordinators here, but they again still have great weapons here. You get a healthy Aiden Hutchinson back here for the defensive
Mhm.
side, which you really needed to because you saw the difference when he wasn't in there. You're not getting that QB pressure that he was always in that backfield, no matter what, whether it's not even just getting a sack, the pressures were making a difference. And when they didn't
Oh,
have him
yeah.
in there, you could tell. And they could have used him in that last playoff game. But that's the thing. Detroit, I feel like last year, that was the time to do it. You were winning, you had this number one seed. You had everything still except for Aiden Hutchinson, but you were rolling and you kind of let it off the hook. You know what I mean? You had it, and now you lost both your coordinators, and you still got talent there, but it's another year where the other teams around you, some of them like the Bears have gotten better, and this team's tight. So this division's tight rather. So you've got a lot more fighting to do before you can get back there. And I feel like they squandered something last year.
They might have squandered something last year, but they had one hell of a year.
Oh,
And
absolutely. I get that.
everybody seems to be directing and talking about, oh, well, they lost their coordinators and the sky's falling because of it. I think it's a little absurd. If it'd be different if they didn't have those coordinators there for a long time, and they did. So they were able to implement their philosophies and their offensive and defensive play calling with the guys underneath them learning
Mhm.
from those great coordinators. So, because of that, I feel like it's not going to be as big of a drop offensively or
Right.
defensively like
Right.
people seem to think. You
Mhm.
have tremendous talent up and down this roster. You didn't lose any guys in their prime. You re-signed all your main free agents or about to be free agents last year. You got ahead of the game instead of some of these other teams like Dallas Cowboys. But
Mhm.
now you're setting yourself up for the long term. That's what they've done so well with this team. And the Bears aren't the only team getting better. The Detroit Lions themselves are getting better too. They've also added younger offensive linemen like Tate Ratledge, who they just drafted this year. Already good, already in the starting lineup, a guy that they really believe in. Isaac Tesla, who's a guy that came out of left field pretty much as a wide receiver. He's going to be chomping at the bid for opportunity and playing time in the receiver ranks. And Jamison Williams, a guy who was like suspended 4 games last year because of gambling, but came back and is trying to get back into the good graces of the Detroit Lions. And it sounds like, by all accounts, they're loving it. They're loving this guy. They really believe in him this year to be kind of like their breakout candidate in the receiving core. Obviously, everybody knows Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tim Patrick returning again for another year with this team. So I have no questions or concerns about their offense. I got no question or concerns about their defense because, unlike last year, they were missing several players. It wasn't just Aiden Hutchinson. Yes, he is a really big loss, but there was other guys missing. Aleem McNeil was missing. They had DJ Reader is now kind of a new member in that Detroit Lions D tackle position group, and they signed Marcus Davenport to be opposite Aiden Hutchinson to give them even more pressure and more help on that side of the ball. So they've done a great job of adding younger talent via draft. Also, DJ Reed coming over from the Jets to play uh, opposite Terrion Arnold. Are you kidding me? They've done some improvements as well, making them even more dangerous than last year. I get the coordinator concern. I have the
Mhm.
same kind of concern, but not to the degree of most people out in media. I think they're going to be still super solid. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFC. And honestly, I think the Lions, their window hasn't shrunken for me. I think they still have that long-term window now where they've managed to continue to revolve younger talent and still stay the course. So I got a lot of confidence in this team, and I think again they're going to be going for the number one uh, pole position here in their division.
Yeah, and like you nailed it, Joe, with just the fact that basically it's the same squad, with the
Yeah.
addition of some other people. So you got everybody that's been there for a couple years working together. It's not like all of a sudden they're going to forget how to be teammates together. And it's not like Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't all of a sudden he forgets where he's supposed to be when
Mhm.
Jared Goff's going to throw it. I mean, they have that
Right.
you know. To down and everything and stuff like that, the chemistry.
Mhm.
So there you
Right.
won't lose chemistry at all in this one. It's different for like all of a sudden a new coaching change happens and then you've got a whole new game plan and scheme and everything and stuff. So that's the
Right
big
on.
difference. So yeah, I agree there too. I mean, I think there might be just a little things here and there, but nothing major to scoff at. That's going to be a problem. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. And with that, our resident Packers fan, Mike
That's right.
Tackett, is in the
Mr.
house
Mike
with us.
Tackett.
He goes, why does Jordan Love not get enough notoriety? He's arguably the second best quarterback in the division and now has a home run hitter in Matthew Golden. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, well, second in this division, I don't think it's saying much though either, because you got Jared Goff and then who? You know what I mean? It'd be Jordan Love, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't
Yes.
lose, it
Yes.
it
That's
was
it.
whatever. So that's what I mean. So I mean, that's not really hard. I mean, uh, and everybody's just because they're not sure. You see what Jordan Love did, right? And then last year, kind of a little not as good. You know what I mean? Still made the playoffs, but again,
Definitely not
he's
good.
in the playoffs. He again folds under pressure or something. Just doesn't perform well. At least since his first start. Two years prior. So I think people are just afraid that it's fool's gold. They're not quick to crown them. You know what I mean? Like Joe, they don't want to crown him too early because they want to say, hey, Jordan Love, look at this, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. Here he is, developed and bang. Now he's ready to go. Green Bay Packers, they know what they're doing and they're doing it right. But now, again, a down year for him, still made the playoffs, but that team overall is a really good team, balanced. I think Matt LaFleur gets a whole lot of credit for that. And I was surprised when the hire, what he was able to accomplish. So kudos to him. But I think people are just, quick to just crown him, I guess.
Well, for me, with Jordan Love, it's all about consistency. And right now, he's 2 years as a starter. He's had one really good, surprising year for most people. And then the next year kind of fell on his face a little bit. And people were expecting, they had great expectations. There was a lot of hype around Jordan Love in the Packers last year, and they just never he never really executed when it mattered most. So the whole thing with Jordan Love is I think he's a really good quarterback, but at the same time, he's got to be more consistent.
Mhm.
And Packer fans, you would have to agree. You want Jordan Love to be the Packer from his first start and continue all the way through his career, getting a little bit better than every single year. That's what you love to see. Hopefully, this year is going to be very different than last year, and he's going to be able to return to somewhat of what he did his first stint at starting quarterback. You'd like to see him be even better than that, but this is a guy who just doesn't have enough consistency, and he's only had 2 years to prove himself. Let's see what he can do in his third year as a starter. So and there's no explanation as far as like, or no excuse, I should say, as far
Mhm.
as receiving weapons, because that used to be the thing when Rodgers was there, right? He's like, I need
Mhm.
more weapons. We got nothing. But now you have a lot of younger receivers. Now, the key is for them this year, especially, they all have to stay healthy. You already know, Christian Watson is out still. We don't even know if he's gonna, at this point, with all the talent that they have, who knows if he even makes a team, because of
Mhm.
all of his injuries. Romeo Doubs, you got Savion Williams, who they just drafted. You got Matthew Golden, who they just drafted. Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. Like, there's a ton of wide receiver talent. So you can't say that could be an excuse anymore. Their offensive line has gotten younger and improved with bringing over Aaron Banks from the Niners. So there's no more excuses. It's time to execute. It's time to prove that the Packers belong back in the winning ways like they used to do, especially with having Josh Jacobs in the backfield and this vastly improved defense every single year. So there is a growing concern, however, with Xavier McKinney and his recent injury that he sustained in practice, that they don't know how, to what degree that this injury is. Hopefully, it's just something minor. Same thing with Nate Hobbs, who they just recently acquired. But all in all, this is a very solid team and a very capable team. If they have everything lined up in a row, they can take the division by storm and make that major push to win the division once again.
Right, right. And again, it's no knock even on him either too, because when we were talking about, top quarterbacks in the league and stuff, top 5 and this, blah, blah. Once you get past, your top 4 or so or whatever your flavor is, um, a few other people, there's just question marks. You know what I mean? It's debatable. I mean, CJ Stroud had a good rookie year and then, a little bit of a downtick or whatever, but look how he's kind of fallen out of graces with some people and even himself. I think declaring himself a top 5 quarterback after his first year, I think was the wrong way to go too, as well. Cause then again, it puts eyes on you and open to speculation and things and criticism. Uh, Jordan Love never did anything like that. But again, I just feel like what they've seen or people have seen recently and what everybody is kind of quick to knock on is playoff success. You have a good team, you get there, and he went what it's 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, in a playoff game. You're losing the team, losing the game for your team when you perform like that. So that's what people remember still. So
Of
I think
course.
as long as he comes back through and can perform, get to the playoffs and change that trajectory, it'll happen. More people are talking about it. I think Packers fans are more aware of it than others, but that's what happens with fan bases. I mean, they kind of stick to it and they follow it a little closer. Um, but all right, so let's move on to who we got finally. That's the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, Joe. What do you got?
Minnesota Vikings, the biggest thing, there's a big change in the wind here for Minnesota. They decided not to bring back Sam Darnold. He goes off to Seattle. They're putting all their faith in their draft pick from 24, JJ McCarthy. There's a lot of excitement, rightfully so. I get it. New shiny toy. Of course the fan base is going to be excited about it. But again, this JJ McCarthy, this quarterback, comes not with, like, he's not flawless yet. He's also still developing as a quarterback, especially at the NFL level. A guy who really hasn't played. And now he's being given the keys and say, "Hey, you got to drive this car to the winner's circle." There's going to be some major struggles, I feel like, with being his first year as a starter in the NFL, a guy who hasn't really been tested yet. It looks good on the field right now in practice, and you're going to have a little bit of preseason to see what he really can do against at least a very basic defense. Some defenses are not trying to trick you in preseason. They're not trying to show you all their cards or show you what they're up to for the season. So if he can handle at least the basic defense, he should be able to. But if there's any kind of struggles, if there's miscues, whether it be nervousness, he's got to overcome it. Whether it be execution, like he's going to have to step up big time for Minnesota, even have a chance to be a. Now, don't get me wrong. The roster from head to toe is ready to go. Like they're ready to win. They're ready to compete. But JJ McCarthy, much like Chicago, in a sense, where they're almost mirror images. They both have really good defenses. They both have a good offense put together. It's going to be all predicated at the quarterback position. How well can JJ McCarthy execute his plays and just limit mistakes, right? So they've done a great job of that offensive line kind of filling holes there. They bring in Will Freeze. They bring in Ryan Kelly, Donovan Jackson they drafted. And obviously, we all know that Jordan Addison is going to be suspended, unfortunately, for the first few games of the season. But when he gets back, he's going to have his full arsenal at his disposal. So I like the team from head to toe. I like what they've done with the changes or the additions to the roster. It's just, can the quarterback position prevail? Can JJ McCarthy overcome in his very first year? Could he have possibly a Jordan Love type of year in his first start? Where Love came out and kind of surprised a lot of people. Can he do that? He's a mobile guy. He's a guy that has a cannon for an arm. But what I'm going to be interested in watching for is, can he make every single throw? Can he make those tight window throws? Can he drop it in the basket over top of a corner into the receiver's hands? That's what I'm going to be watching for. So I wish JJ McCarthy best of luck. I hope he does well. But obviously, this team is going to be, their wins and losses column is going to be, determined by JJ.
Yeah, exactly, Joey. Like you said, they're really tied to each other and parallel. The Bears and the Vikings. But we thought possibly, or at least I did, last year, same type of thing. I think I might have picked them, lower on, and not a lot of faith in Sam Darnold. But look what Kevin O'Connell was going to do, and again, calls his shot in this one. Like, I don't think their stadium has a big enough dome to hold Kevin O'Connell's balls, and because you've got such a good team here, and you got Sam Howell behind you and Brett Rippon. That's it. So, I mean, and this is the guy. You drafted this guy. Yeah, you said, screw you, Sam Darnold. See ya. You don't bring in Kirk Cousins or anything again, obviously, or you don't want to go back to that. So you're basically, you can't bench him after this. You draft, we brought him in. He's got to be the guy. You're putting confidence in him. So if he plays bad, you're just with it. You're rolling with it. So, like I said, I'm like, God, man, I wish I had the balls that this guy has. But here we go. And we're going to see it. And you know what? If he does well and performs, hey, kudos. And, oh, my goodness, I might just, bow down to the mighty Kevin O'Connell for what he does, it inspires and in grooming and it's everything else. And being a Michigan guy, too, I'm rooting for him. So I definitely want JJ McCarthy to do well and stuff. But like you said, it's sketch because over the rest of the team, it's really good depth, all around in all phases. So it'll be exciting to watch. And it's going to be a really tight division, I feel.
Yes, sir. I want to thank Mace for chiming in the show. Really appreciate you stopping in. He said, sick backgrounds, guys. Sick backgrounds. We do appreciate that. We try to work on our studio as much as we can.
Thanks.
Do appreciate it, Mace. Mace, if you could do us a huge favor, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you head over to YouTube and subscribe for us. Hit the thumbs up while you're there. Really do appreciate the comment. Appreciate the love. And tell a friend to tell a friend.
All right, cool. It's Mace, like, the spray, or like the weapon, not like Mace with Diddy Mace and stuff like that.
Yeah, is it Mace the rapper?
No, it's not. So no, it's not. So all right. So anyways, so it's time for your picks, Joe. Here you go. There's my picks. All right. So let's go to your picks here. What you did with the AFC, the Ravens, again, to recap: Bengals, Steelers, and then the
Browns.
Browns. So here we go. Your picks for the NFC North.
North. NFC
there it
North
is.
goes as follows. I have the Detroit Lions because I still have faith in them. I think even though they lost their kind of stars at coordinators, I think that they're still going to be able to overcome that. This team is too good not to. And I have the Green Bay Packers finishing second. I believe in Jordan Love in his third attempt as a starter. I think he's going to be better. I think this team overall is going to be better. Now, obviously, if this team gets the injury bug yet again, like last year a little bit, it's going to kind of derail this whole idea. But I think that the Packers have a really, really good shot of being second in the division. That brings me to the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. We mentioned just shortly before. This is kind of like both these teams are mirror, images of themselves. They both have good defenses. They both have the offense to win games. It's going to come down to quarterback play. I have more faith in Chicago, which kills me to say, with Caleb Williams at the helm to do enough to become third in this division. The Vikings and JJ McCarthy, because it's his very first start, literally has no experience in the NFL. It's hard to kind of project and hard to envision just how good he's going to be. So I wish both those teams nothing but the best, but at the same time, it's a tough call in a division where it could be yet again another tough NFC division where with the competition levels, I think it's going to be, one of these things where it's going to go right down to the end of the season because usually these types of divisions are always close.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, we were looking at the playoff situation here, and towards the end of the season, the Vikings did play the Lions, so it was almost like playoff atmosphere, and they were looking
Right.
to potentially play each other again, depending on how the wild cards went. So, that's really interesting because not only it feeds to the rivalries and stuff, but what the win totals that these guys have and what they do, it's always makes for a good game too. Absolutely. So. So let's go down to my picks here again.
What do you got?
Recap, this is the picks I had from the AFC. Same thing as Joe here, but my NFC I think is just a little bit different here. I still have the Lions again. Like I said, I'm not as concerned about the coordinator situation, just like Joe. It's mentionable, but you've got everybody that's been there too. So if these guys all of a sudden forgot how to play with each other somehow, that's just ridiculous. It's stupid. All right, so I think they're going to get it together here and still play. They're just way too good. I think the Packers too. They're such a good team again, all around. Defensively, offensively, Josh Jacobs in the backfield, in wide receivers, they're sketch at times too, but I still feel like this team just is solid and they've got really good coaching. The Vikings I have next because I really feel like maybe it is. It's just Kevin O'Connell. Something's in the Kool-Aid. They got the purple drink right there. They're drinking the purple Kool-Aid. There it is. So I think Kevin O'Connell's going to get this team together. They're not going to be no 11, 12 team squad like maybe with the Sam Darnold stuff like that. But I feel like JJ McCarthy has enough, in him to get this done. And again, with the weapons here, you got a Ferrari and stuff like that. It's tough to go crazy, and you got the keys to them and stuff. But you know what? You're still going to go really freaking fast, though. You know what I'm saying? So these guys are going to go fast.
Yeah, just watch out for the trees.
Yeah, just watch out for the trees. Right? George in the jungle, right?
This car could end up in an accident off in the ditch very quickly.
It's like, you remember that movie, Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Remember at the end when the cross-eyed guys got he bought everybody Ferraris and the guy with the googly eyes got it and just right into the thing. That's what I hope it's not, right? JJ McCarthy. So and then finally I had the Bears just again because I'm really skittish. I'm like, I hope to see development with this team and stuff like that. But new regime in there. Let's see what happens and see how it goes. Let's take a little baby step all the way to the top. But hey, that doesn't mean that they're going to be a terrible team, though. Because again, this division shows that they can beat other terrible divisions. So I mean, we got 3 playoff teams out of this division last year with multiple double-digit wins. So you could potentially see this. Imagine seeing a 4-way in this one, or at least perhaps even the Bears sneak in somehow. But I think they'll be good, but I'm not giving them high expectations on this one. You know, I steer away from
Right.
that stuff. So,
Yeah.
so there it is. There's our way too early predictions here, covering the divisions next week. I don't know. We'll look at the South. How about that? We'll do the dirty South, AFC in the North, or the AFC and the NFC South.
Rise
Joe
Up will love
again.
that.
Oh hell yeah, yeah, he'll be
Yeah,
there. He'll be
he'll
there
be
with the Dirty
all about that.
Birds and stuff like that, representing the Atlanta Falcons.
Want
All
to
right,
thank
so
everybody
mhm.
that's joined the show. Really do appreciate you guys. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the questions. Do us a huge favor. Head over to YouTube if you can. Just it's absolutely free. Doesn't cost you a damn thing, but just a second of your time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up while you can too. It'll allow us to be, other people will be able to see us more on the YouTube algorithm. And definitely tell a friend to tell a friend. Really do appreciate everybody. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. See you guys.